Hey everybody, I'm here with the all-new BATrocity podcast, episode 2, and today we're going to get into the Captain Marvel review. I'm going to tell you all of my thoughts about what happened and what took place and how they got there, and my thoughts in general, and we'll also talk a little bit about David Irving, the ex-Cowboys player who quit over his disliking of the marijuana policy in the NFL. So let's jump right in. All right, so Captain Marvel, man, that was something. I think overall, Captain Marvel was a good movie. I saw it last night, opening night, and I don't know. I didn't expect it to be like a big game-changing type of movie, and it wasn't. And if I'm being honest, I put it on par with Captain America: The First Avenger and Thor, the first one. As far as the feel of the movie, even Iron Man 1, I put it on the very first generation. What do they call those? Phase 1 movies of the MCU. It was good. It wasn't great. Brie Larson's Captain Marvel, she had an attitude about her that I liked. I think that it wasn't really until maybe halfway through the film where you started to realize the tone of the film was going to kind of remain the same. There was a lot of humor in it. Nick Fury had like a lot of moments of comedy that I was not expecting from, I guess because we become so accustomed to seeing Samuel Jackson's Nick Fury as, he had some jokes, but he was mostly this stern, know-it-all, badass type character. And to see him sort of go from playing that role to playing a role of comic relief almost, and it seemed a little bit, it's not what I expected. It was different than what I went in expecting. I was still expecting badass Nick Fury, and I was a little upset about that, but I wasn't upset enough to not like it. It held its own. The Skrull were in it, and overall, this is a strange case of the main villain. There's a lot of so there's gonna be spoilers, obviously, if I'm talking about this, so expect spoilers. But the Skrull were not really the bad guys of the film. They were sort of the misunderstood enemy of the Kree, which I thought was kind of strange. Like they just wanted to find a home or something stupid. Don't expect me to be able to discuss all the specifics and details, but I can give you sort of the top layer. I thought that was strange because I always, from my limited understanding of the Skrull growing up, was that they were bad guys, and maybe they still are, but if they are truly bad people, they didn't do a good enough job explaining that with the Swerve. The Swerve made it just seem like there was this big misunderstanding that the Skrull were actually, hey man, we just trying to find a place to live, man. Like it just didn't seem like what we was expecting. And then it turned out that the Kree were actually the bad guys, the ones that Captain Marvel was working with, and that they were taking advantage of her. And I can't think of everyone's name, but yeah, the main one that she was working with, who was also responsible for training her, was trying to keep her effectively from using her abilities. And of course, she finds out at the very end that this is all bullshit. I'm gonna use my powers on you. It was cool. It is what it is. But what I'm seeing online is that a lot of people have issue with Nick Fury, like I do a little bit. I don't have a lot of issue with Nick Fury. Just sort of the same complaints other people have, but they're not as serious to me. So one of the complaints is that Nick Fury in this movie, it's sort of the telling of how he loses his eye. I shouldn't say sort of. It is the telling of how he loses his eye, and it's basically this cat creature that I don't even fucking know. I can't even explain if it's either the cat is an alien or the alien lives inside of the fucking cat. There's this cat. His name is Goose, and for whatever reason, there's this octopus-like alien that just comes out of the cat's mouth when the cat feels in danger or needs to defend or something, and it attacks or whatever. So the cat itself is like, I don't know. But anyway, Nick Fury befriends this cat Goose. His name is Goose, so don't get confused. I'm not saying it's a cat and a goose or like cat dog or something like that shit. But nah, so he befriends the cat, and there's a lot of like cheesy humor in that where he's like, "You kitty, 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 kitty," and he's talking all like, baby talk to the cat, and it's like, that's not Nick Fury. You know what I mean? That's a slight complaint. I realize that they're just trying to use him as comic relief, but it deviated enough from what we know him to be that it was sort of like, okay, all right, don't do this too much, But so there was that, and excuse me, and the cat at one point scratches him, and I guess scratches him so bad that he ends up losing his eye. And it's just, sort of, he just brushes it off as it's happening. It's like, it's nothing serious, it's just a scratch, blah, blah, blah. And every time you see his face, it's getting progressively worse and things like that. So I thought it was funny for what it was trying to be, because clearly they were trying to make fun or make light of the fact that we all just assumed that Nick Fury probably lost his eye in some sort of epic badass battle against somebody. And so for it to be this, cute little cuddly cat is supposed to be funny. So it works on that level, obviously, but it is what it is. He was a pretty good supporting character for the most part. He helps Carol throughout her venture on Earth, and in trying to, what I can't fucking remember what they were doing. They were running around some facility, and they went to some other like secret location facility where they were, where Nick quickly realized that they were actually being held captive, and he used some sort of basic thing that we've seen on TV a million times, where someone gets some scotch tape and attaches it to something plastic where someone's touched, and you acquire the fingerprint and use that to use on the stupid fingerprint based, what do they call those things, monitor thing that scans his fingerprint. I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, you got to see him be somewhat the smart guy, but at the same time it was all sort of mostly comic relief. And it's something that you can watch it without feeling like it was a downside to the movie. To me, it was sort of just unexpected. So the other thing about Nick Fury that people complained about that I'm seeing online is that they don't like how he comes up with the Avengers Initiative name. And I agree with this as well. Not as strongly, but I definitely agree. At the very end of the movie, Coulson, who's in the movie as well, by the way, I think provides Nick with a bunch of photos or something, or I don't know who provides Nick with the photos. I don't remember. It was late. And Nick goes through it and he sees a photo of Carol Danvers standing by her plane. And on the plane it says Carol, and in quotes it says Avenger Danvers. And it's like, okay, so Carol Danvers' nickname was Avenger. And it's not, it's so lame. You know what I mean? So of course Nick sees that and he goes, oh, so instead of calling this the blah blah initiative, whatever he was calling it, Protectors Initiative, whatever the fuck he was calling it, he's like, he types in Avengers, so it's the Avengers Initiative, and we're all supposed to be like, oh, cool, and then they play like the Avengers theme music for that instance, and it's so cheesy. But while I don't like it, because I think that the execution is just too stupid, I like that they bothered to give us an explanation at all, so that's why I'm sort of torn. Because it's like, you didn't actually have to give us an explanation as to how he came up with the Avengers name or how he lost his eye. But they did. So, the way I see it is, just take it. Because it was the perfect opportunity to. How many more movies are we going to get to see where Samuel L. Jackson, at whatever age he is now, whether it's late 60s or whatever, I don't know how old he is, how many more chances are we going to get to see of him getting that de-aging process where they, de-age him 30, 40 years or something stupid. And then, which also, by the way, was an excellent, really cool part of the movie. I found myself staring at Samuel L. Jackson throughout every scene he was in, because I was like, is this really as good as it looks? Like, it really was, it was impressive. I don't know how they did it, but it was really cool. It didn't look choppy. They de-aged him like decades, and it didn't look bad, and I thought that was pretty cool. And it was even better than what I remember from Tony Stark when he was, I think it was in Civil War, when you saw that de-aged Tony Stark, but you're staring at it the entire time, like, what the hell am I looking at? It's weird to me for some weird reason, but I don't know why it's weird. It's not that bad. It was good enough. You were looking at it like continuously because it was good. It was impressive. But yeah, I can't fucking remember what I was talking about. But yeah, but overall, I like that they bother to explain that stuff. And you're not going to get many opportunities. That's what I was talking about. You're not going to get that many opportunities to go back and give Samuel Jackson an opportunity to portray Nick Fury at a younger age and explain all this stuff. So when you finally have an excuse to have a movie of one of the leading characters in the 90s, you might as well, if you're going to throw in Sammy J, put him in there and explain everything that you need to explain. So good on them for that. But like I said, the movie overall didn't blow me out of the water. Shouldn't have blown anybody out of the water. Honestly, it was okay. It was good. I'll give it a solid B. Just like the first Iron Man, first Cap movie, first Thor movie. It's all it's all good, not great. But that said, it's almost like a filler. Like the entire movie serves as filler, just to explain the pager at the end of Infinity War. Really, when you think about it, it's really just, it's like a whole 2-hour advertisement or 2-hour backstory for the pager that you see in Infinity War. So at the very end, I think I heard that there's two, what do they call those, like post credits? There was like a post credit one and there was a during credit one. I saw the during credit scene and then I left because I wasn't going to be one of those 100% nerds who stay and sit there and wait till the credits are done and watch the post credit. But I heard something about the post credit scene and something about the cat, and I was like, okay, I don't care. I don't feel bad about missing that. But the during credit scene was the Avengers after the events of Infinity War are all in, I don't know what facility they're in, some Avengers facility probably, and they have retrieved the pager from that Nick Fury was using, I believe, and they're trying to receive the signal or whatever, something from it, or they sent one out or whatever, and it's finally dying, the battery's dying or whatever the case may be. So they're like, oh, my dude's dying, man. And in that scene, there's Black Widow, there's Bruce Banner, I believe there's Cap and Rhodey. So, and maybe I'm missing somebody else. I don't know if I'm missing another one. And so they're all just trying to figure out, hey, what should we do? Should we? It's losing power. What do we do? Blah blah. And I think they keep it on or something stupid. And then in the few seconds later, Captain Marvel shows up, and she confronts them, and she's, I don't remember what she said, but it was probably something along the lines of like, "Can I be of service?" or something stupid. I don't know. So they're all like, "Ooh," and then back to the credits. So I was like, okay. That to me, and I don't mean to sound like a Debbie Downer, was the best part of the whole movie, because think about what you're watching the movie for. And if the whole pager aspect was explained, throughout the movie, basically, given that you find out pretty quickly that Carol can, make certain devices with limited technology and blah, blah, blah. And you see the pager and all that stuff, and she gives it to Nick and all that. So it's like the whole movie just set up the pager scene at the end of Infinity War. So to see that scene, that is the only scene that we've seen since Infinity War that takes place after the events of Infinity War, was like, okay, this is the best part, because this is what we want to see. We want to see how this builds up and leads to Endgame, because Endgame is coming up, and everyone's like, what the fuck? So this Captain Marvel overall is like an unnecessary film that basically just explains who the hell she is. It's an origin story, but it's unnecessary in the sense that it almost feels like it could have been condensed to a 30-minute TV show. But, quality-wise, it's right there with the first movies of everyone else. I'm hoping that the next movie, because I have very limited memory of Captain Marvel, or Miss Marvel, I guess, from my memory. In Miss Marvel, from what I remember, Carol Danvers wore like a black costume or something, and it had like a yellow looking bolt or something on it, and like a red sash or cape or something. I don't know. So it's like, but it's like, I wish they could have incorporated that costume into the movie somehow. And I remember reading somewhere recently that Brie Larson, when she was approached to do this movie and all that, she had reservations of having to wear that costume, I believe. And I get it. Maybe it's too sexy or some shit. I don't know. But I mean, like, to me, it's not. It's like there's a way around it, obviously. You can just sort of, make the whole costume black and just maybe make the parts that show skin just slightly transparent or some shit. I don't know. But, like, show people what they're familiar with. Because I was not familiar with the Captain Marvel suit that she was wearing, even though that is, from what I know now, is definitely like the popular Captain Marvel costume or uniform, whatever. So it's like, whatever. But just for those of us who only know of it the other way, it would have been cool to see that other costume in there. And we could have been like, damn, And who knows, maybe she becomes Miss Marvel. And that's, all right, so one slight gripe is the whole movie, I don't think they actually ever call her Captain Marvel. So that pissed me off a little bit, My thing is, don't call a movie by name and then don't call the character the name. Like, say the name. Say my name. So just go ahead and be like Captain Marvel. But yeah, they took so long trying to get to the end of that story of Marvel and all that stuff. And people complain that, in the comics, I guess, she's a he and all this kind of stuff. And why is this a woman? Blah. And things that don't matter to me, but I'm sure matter to a lot of people who are fans. So it's like, I know I'm an asshole if I'm like, I don't care. But being realistic, I don't care. So don't hate me. Just being honest with you. But yeah, so I would recommend to see it. But I would not tell you that you need to rush out to the theater and see it by any means. I don't feel bad about seeing it because I have very limited time to myself as a parent of a small child. I don't get as much time to just go watch a movie, unfortunately. So, if you're looking for an excuse to do something, then definitely go out and see it. But yeah, you're not gonna feel bad about it if you wait till it's in like on DVD or Blu-ray. So, if you can't afford it or you can't make time to watch it, then shit, wait and you'll be okay. And don't give two shits about the scroll, man. Like, I don't care about the scroll. You shouldn't care about the scroll. They're supposed to be bad guys. Let me break down why I don't give a shit about the scroll not being completely bad guys, right? Okay, so a lot of people wanted them to be bad guys because they figured there were so many possibilities storyline wise with the scroll. Like, you'd be able to down the road tell a story where the scroll happens to be X person or blah 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 and la la la, and then you go, oh, it's a scroll, that's why that didn't make sense. Ooh, cool, right? And you can still technically do all that shit, but the fact remains, movies cost way too much fucking money to rely on one group. It's, how many fucking movies do you think we're going to go around and be like, what we're going to talk about? We're going to have a swerve where this person's a scroll, or we're going to talk about the scroll in that movie and this movie. And how long did you think it was going to last anyway? To me, I look at it sort of like the situation with Doomsday in Batman vs. Superman, where a lot of people didn't like the version of Doomsday that came out with. I'll say this. I had no problem storyline-wise with the way they put together Doomsday and Batman vs. Superman. I had a little bit of issues with how he looked visually, but that's about it. And the reason why is because I didn't want them to spend hundreds of millions of dollars just to make the death of Superman story into a film. I didn't want them to do that, because how many of us have already read it? How many people have already watched the cartoons of it? How many times do we need to see a retelling of this story? And do we really want to base an entire movie on this story? And essentially, if you kill Superman, if you actually do it right, you kill Superman off, and then you have to explain what happens to him after the fact in the next movie and all that stuff. So you're really wasting two movies at the very least on Doomsday and the death of Superman story arc. So it just seemed much better to shoehorn it in to Batman vs. Superman and give Batman, Wonder Woman, and Superman all a common villain to fight. So I liked how they approached that. and thought that it was more logical than wasting 2 films on one storyline. So with the Skrull and Captain Marvel, I see it very similarly. I'm like, I don't want you to waste multiple movies with Skrull swerves, like these, this so-and-so's a Skrull, blah, 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 or even backstory about Skrull. I don't want that. So how they handled it allows for there to still be swerves down the line, but it doesn't make you feel like they're going to go out of their way to expand on who the Skrulls are and what they're about and all that shit. So kudos to them for not wasting everyone's fucking time. So if you're complaining about them not being bad guys, then maybe just reassure yourself. Just maybe talk yourself down the ledge, or off the ledge, and just tell yourself, okay, maybe they are still bad guys who are also looking for a home. Just maybe reassure yourself. But yeah. Okay, guys. So I want to get into David Irving of Cowboys, if you want to say fame, fine, or mediocrity, whatever. Let's get into him quitting over the weed policy at the NFL. Excuse me, people. Excuse me. Sorry, I just had some IHOP. Okay. So, David Irving, as I said, quit over the weed policy. Didn't like it. He's someone who smokes marijuana for, I believe, for medicinal purposes. I don't know him personally. Obviously, I don't know anybody famous, so don't quote me. But I feel like this is it's a kind of a dicey subject, because it's not clear cut. You have people who tell you that marijuana should be fully allowed. You shouldn't be testing for marijuana when it comes to players because it's not harmful and all this kind of stuff. And I look at it like, dude, anything could be harmful depending on how you use it, And while I totally agree that everyone should be able to smoke weed if they want to, in the privacy of their own home, as long as it's not affecting anybody who doesn't want to be around it, you feel me? It should be allowed. That's how I see it. However, there's another way to look at this, and I get it. It's business, and what I mean by that is the individual franchises themselves, the teams, have to factor in: is it really worth risking that our weed head players on our team might abuse these recreational drugs or substances, whatever you want to call them, right? And show up to a game high or what have you, or show up to practice high or do an interview high or something like that, and compromise, the product, the overall product, which is the game, or the whatever, whether it's an interview, whatever. So I get from their perspective, and it's also a reflection of the individual franchises themselves, and to to a larger degree, is reflective of the NFL. So I get from that perspective, if you're paying these people hundreds of millions of dollars or millions of dollars, you don't want to invest in a risky product. You don't want to risk it. So I get why you would test for drugs in general, and why you would throw in marijuana in that. But this is where I stand on that. I get that. That's perfectly fine to me. I get also the other perspective of, hey, why can't I smoke weed? What if I have an injury, or if I'm in pain and I need marijuana for it? That's medicinal, right? And I get that. I get that marijuana can be extremely less harmful than these over-the-counter type things that are much more damaging to organs and things like that. I get that. It all makes sense to me. Like the argument for and the argument against both make sense to me. So I don't want to hear anybody say, oh, you're just a hater. No, I'm not a hater. I'm someone who sees that it's a complicated subject that neither side can really pin down the cons, effectively, and actually look at the other and say that this one is perfectly wrong and this one's perfectly right. No. So but I do feel like if you are using marijuana and you're smoking it, basically, you're hurting your case, because every time someone is smoking marijuana saying that it's for medicinal purposes, and you ask them Hey, why are you not taking it in pill form or using it, the oil or whatever, and all these alternative methods? Why do you choose to smoke it? And most of them will tell you some variation of, smoking it is more effective or whatever. And I don't know if it's true. I'm not someone who smokes pot. I don't fucking know. I don't care. Honestly, from a personal perspective, I don't care. But I do think that it hurts the case, that it would help the case if you had more people who were just using pills and oil and shit like that. Then it would help the case of, hey, just allow it all across the board. But the fact that so many, most even, who use marijuana choose to smoke it, it hurts the case, So when you need it for medicinal purposes, I think that there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to use it. But you should also expect that businesses are going to raise eyebrows when you do, because the culture around marijuana, unfortunately, we can't really avoid this shit. The culture around marijuana is not good. It comes down to the reputation of the types of people who use it, and whether it's propaganda or it's truth. I can tell you right here, as someone who grew up around a lot of people who use marijuana, use weed, smoke it or what have you, or use eat edible type shit, from all angles. There's a certain type, of people who use marijuana in different ways, and I gotta tell you, it's not a good look. Their attitudes, their behaviors are not those of the kind of people that you want representing your business. So that's not to say everyone's the same. I realize there's perfectly plenty of great people who use marijuana in different ways, and they're responsible about it. I get that, and that's, like I said, it's unfortunate. It's not a personal me versus weed thing, but it's a me understanding that sometimes, or a lot of times, the few can ruin it for the many, and it is what it is. But I look at this particular case where David Irving quit over the weed policy, and I think to myself, this dude has been given an opportunity to make millions upon millions of dollars, right? And the only caveat, the only stipulation is just lay off of smoking, lay off the weed, right? There is nothing that I'm doing right now. There's no food that I'm eating. There's no drink that I'm drinking that I would not stop eating or drinking just for the sake of making millions and millions and millions. And I love food. I love me some food. But I love lasagna, for instance. I will stop eating lasagna for the rest of my life if it means I'm going to make the kind of money that he could probably make in the NFL. You know what I'm saying? So I get it. If it's really medicinal, then I get why he's like, I'm doing this for my own health, and fuck you guys. I get that perspective. But at the same time, you got to understand, the NFL, playing the NFL is a privilege. It's I shouldn't say it's a privilege. That's not fair. It's earned for sure, but it's also partly a privilege, in large part a privilege. And the reason why is because they don't need you. They don't need you. Every player that's playing in the NFL is replaceable. Even Tom Brady. You know what I'm saying? Everyone's replaceable. Everyone can be replaced. Tickets will sell. Even if there's slumps, eventually a guy can come in and turn it around. You are not as necessary as you might think if you're an NFL player. There's 52 men on the roster, and however many who are on reserve or whatever. Like, teams do not need you. They might want you, but they don't need you. And they can always chalk it up to, hey, well, he never would have panned out anyway. You know what I'm saying? Like, they can always just tell themselves, or, hey, we got what we wanted out of this guy anyway. So if they, to any professional athlete or anyone who's a prospect to potentially become a professional athlete, you need to really weigh how much recreational use of drugs is to you. You have to really weigh it out, because I think most people who smoke weed are smoking it recreationally, most of them. And I don't mean any offense by saying that. That's just, to me, a common sense thing. So I'm sorry if I'm wrong. Excuse me. But to those who are, smoking medicinally, you got to realize, that's a chance you're taking. It's not to be the bad guy. It's just to be real, just to be realistic about it, and just to be honest about it. It's not worth it. I mean, the common man has way more to lose than the professional athlete. The professional athlete can just, clean up, play by the rules and make millions of dollars. So imagine the average man, average woman who ends up at risk of losing their job over failing a drug test. That's a much bigger deal. So when it comes to these prospects and these professional athletes, you guys got to really just look yourself in the mirror and be like, what's more important to me? Struggling with whatever I'm going through, whether it's addiction or pain, physical pain. What's more important? Smoking weed to alleviate this pain, or trying to find another substance that'll either equally benefit me or close enough in making millions and millions of dollars? And to me, the answer is so easy that it's not even worth asking, the question. So keep that in mind. Well, guys, that is all I got to say today. I realize this is a short one. I wanted to just keep it short so I can give you my Captain Marvel review. Hopefully, like I said, go out there and see it if you can. But if you can't, don't feel bad about it. I'm not saying it's just, without any nicer way to put it, you're not missing much. It is filler. It's a nice little entertaining filler movie. I will definitely be back next week discussing all that good with you. So yeah, just hang in there and have a good weekend, and I will talk to you later.